Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich.
Good evening, I'm Peggy Scott Laborde and welcome to Steppin Out, spotlighting the New Orleans area's arts and entertainment scene. Seated at our table tonight, author, attorney, and banker Stephen Maitland-Lewis. And actually we'll talk about Satchmo. So it's quite eclectic and we love it, and it's great to have you back.
Hello.
Poppy Tucker, host of the radio program Louisiana Eats, airing twice weekly on WWNO Radio. Good to see you.
Hi, Peg.
Yeah, hello. We're so glad she's back. Singer Anais St, who has a brand new original show and will be performing for us a little later. Welcome back.
Thank you,
Hello
Peggy.
there. And Augustin Correro, co-artistic director of the Tennessee Williams Theater Company. And later on tonight, we'll have a special scene from the play Vieux Carre performed in our studio. Alan Smason returns next week. But first up, we go uptown to Poppy.
Well, we're going to celebrate first off because Donald Link.
Whoa, love that sound.
You know, earlier this year, they expanded La Boulangerie on Magazine Street. And then just this week, they got their liquor license. And so you can go to La Boulangerie and you can have, just like we're having, courtesy of them on the set today, French champagne, the real thing. Now, you know, all summer long we've been talking about taking little trips vicariously through food. And you know, I love to go to Café des Gars or Crêpe Nanu and feel like I'm in Paris. Well, when I went to La Boulangerie this week, I felt like I was in Paris. Oh my goodness, the beautiful things to eat. There was a blue cheese and fig boulet, that's a ball-shaped bread, olive fougasse. On the menu, salmon rillette with squid ink crackers. Never saw this before. And you know those real baguette sandwiches that you get in Paris? Classic ham with salted butter and Comte and cornichon, or tuna with hard-boiled egg and salted butter on an olive baguette. They're right there in the case. And of course there's French fruit tarts and Napoleons and tiramisu. And I brought home a little tiny perfect Black Forest cake that was so delicious. So there's French champagne, there's mimosas, Bloody Marys, pastis, rosé. They've got
pastis.
It all. So hurry over there, have breakfast, lunch, have an early supper, and you will feel as though we've been in France. Just like that. So here's to Donald Link and all our friends at La Boulangerie. Cheers.
Yes, indeed.
Now, we're going to go to the North Shore next on our little trip. And here we've got culinary. But you know, it's cool on the North Shore already. So they've got a Tammany Taste of Summer with over 20 restaurants participating now through August 31st. 2- and 3-course brunch and lunch menus for $20 or less. And 3-course dinners are $39 or less. You can go to Old Favorite, the Dakota, $20 for lunch, and a fabulous 4-course dinner tasting menu. There's Del Porto Ristorante on East Boston in Covington. Those owners, chefs, David and Tori Salazzo, 3 times James Beard nominated with their house-made pasta and their great antipasti and crudo and cocktails. Also in Covington, Baco Bar, that chef we love, Carl Schubert, with his addictive steam buns, those are Bacos, and all sorts. You can have any Baco with crab bisque or salad just for $14 at lunch. Incredible deal. Then there's a new lots of buzz about a Southern comfort food place called Hambone on Girard Street in Mandeville. And the owner chef, Luke Hidalgo, former sous chef at Commander's Palace, $30 lunch, Hambone gumbo, deviled eggs or fried boudin. They've got fried chicken. They have fabulous custards. At Oxlot 9, you can see Jeffrey Hansel in the Southern Hotel. Dinner just $38. And for goodness sake, stay the night. And then, if you don't want to cross the causeway, Palmetto's on the Bayou, on Bayou Bonafuco in Slidell, has great contemporary Louisiana food. And it's in this classic bayou on the bank setting. Lunch for just $16. Dinner for just $33. Annadale's Plantation, Lola, Cafe Lynn, Gallagher's, the Lake House, and Teeny's, Restaurant Cote, even Copeland's and Zia's. If there's some place you love to eat or have wanted to dine on the North Shore, now's the time through August 31st. So cheers to them. And again, cheers to La Boulangerie.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And thank you, Poppy. New Orleans Magazine's quiz queen, Julia Street, has a question for us. Last time, Patricia Piazzo gave us the names of 2 local specialty coffee drinks, one made with orange liqueur and the other with hot milk. The answer is Café Boulot and Café Olé. Now, tonight's question. The North Shore's Chafuncta River passes, speaking of North Shore, through 2 towns. This is a good one. What are they? Email your answers to steppinout@wyes.org. Our prizes, a year's subscription to Louisiana Life magazine. An apron with the message, drink sake, stay soba, from our friends at wearablevegetables.com. And a pair of free admission passes to either the Audubon Zoo, Aquarium of the Americas, or the Butterfly Garden and Insectarium. You can go to our WYS.org online calendar for our lineup of events, including the Life on the Bayou Heritage Fair this Saturday at the Petot House right there in Moss Street next to Cabrini. And, by the way, our friends at Kitchen Witch Bookshop on North Broad are back with Vegan Taco Tuesdays from 5 to 7. You can also link to our WYS YouTube channel to see our program. It has been over a century since Storyville closed, that city's legalized red light district. Lulu White was one of the most notorious madams. And from her brand new show opening next week called Lulu White, Queen of Storyville, here's Anais to perform the song When You're in Jail, written by Harry Mayronne, at the piano, by the way, and Ricky Graham. Take it away, Anais.
My darling, it's true that I worshipped you. I took to you beyond belief. But you took my purse, and then something worse. You were just a no-good thief. Well, you wouldn't stop, so I called a cop. He came and carted you away. You cried to the judge, but he wouldn't budge. So now to my delight I say, when you're in jail for stealing my heart, for breaking it in two and tearing it apart, you'll be sorry, you'll be blue, but don't ask me to bail you out, you low-down rascal, you. Don't make appeals to this poor wounded dove. Soon you'll know how it feels to be a prisoner of love, dressed in the finest of glamour, eating pinafores, I say, up yours while you're in the slammer, while you're in jail, you dirty jailbird, you. Take it away, Harry. You please, you took your sweet time and a few liberties. You can cry and all that stuff. You know there ain't no way in hell you ever do enough. Think of your crime and my poor heart's battle scars, where you know you're gonna have a time when your butt's behind bars. After some years in the clink, dear, your life's a bitch. But I'll be rich and dripping in milk, dear. When you're in jail, you dirty jailbird, you. Oh, yeah. When you're in jail, you dirty jailbird, you.
Anais shortly. But first, Stephen Maitland, part-time New Orleanian and loves New Orleans hot. But of course, these days, writing lots of novels and a new one coming up too, huh?
Well, I hope it'll be out by January, February. It's a slow process. It's been 3 years in the making, and a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and toil, and it's sometimes less than beautiful relationship with my editor, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. And but 5, is that correct? 5 so far?
Yes.
Is that right?
That's
and so
right.
the most recent is Botticelli's Bastards?
Botticelli's Bastard, which may well be translated into French and Italian within the next few months.
Oh, it's a great cover.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
So important, those kinds of decisions as well. But I also know that your heart is very much, as we show your wonderful covers, with Louis Armstrong, and you come here many times during the year, but especially for Satchmo Fest. I know it's very much dear to you because there is a relationship. There is a bit of a connection with Satchmo. Would you share that story with us?
I will. There is a relationship which goes back to perhaps when I was around 9, when I fell in love with his music and played it all the time.
And by the way, where are you from originally? Just
London.
Okay. Just in case people pick up that accent, I don't know.
And then when I was about 11, I wrote him a fan letter, a very childish fan letter, as you can imagine. I was 11. And to my great surprise and enormous pleasure, within a month, I got a reply from him, a 4-page letter in his own handwriting. It was an unbelievable moment when I opened the envelope. And then I wrote back to him to thank him for his letter, and he wrote back to me to thank me for thanking him. And this pen pal exchange lasted until he died. And it got a little bit more intense. There were Christmas cards and birthday cards, and then really the highlight was that he wrote and said that he would be in England, and would I like to meet him at his hotel? And that was a very exciting moment, and I met him that year in '58 and on a subsequent visit, and we had lunch together. And then he said, what are you doing tomorrow? So I said, all this was done with a lot of apprehension because I was young. It was during school term and I was at boarding school, and I had to convince my parents and the headmaster of the school that I wanted time off. They weren't
Good excuse.
They weren't overly thrilled, but they knew that if they didn't give permission, I'd probably run away anyway. So I was invited to go on the bus from city to city with Louis and the band. It was...
Now let's fast forward. Many years later, up in New York in Queens, and something very special happens.
Well, prior to that happening, I was asked by a newspaper in Beverly Hills, where I now live, to write an article about Louis. And I was lazy, because I'd already written the article that they wanted for a Smithsonian magazine. And I couldn't find my copy. I was going to rehash it. So I had to call the Louis Armstrong Museum in New York to say, do you have a copy of...
Which is his home, original
Which was
home.
his
It's
home.
based in his home in Queens, Correro in Queens.
It started a dialogue with them, and then they invited me to go on the board of the museum, and that's where I am, and it's a very important part of my life. Louis is very special to me.
And then you're visiting there one day, and...
Oh, my God, yes. I visited there one day to attend a board meeting, and the executive director said, Stephen, we've left something on the conference room table for you to look at. And you're early, so take your time. So I sat down at the table, and there was a manila folder, and I opened it up. And there were my letters that I had written to him from the age of 11. It was a very moving experience for me to see, and also to be reacquainted with all my grammatical and spelling errors. But it was very special. That obviously, I kept every single communication that I ever received from him, but he kept some of mine. It was very special.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and we are
Thank
so
you.
glad that you love Louis, but you love New Orleans too.
Absolutely.
And what a great weekend last weekend was with Satchmo Fest, wasn't it?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Well, glad you're with us once
Thank you.
again. And Anais, long time no see.
Wonderful to be here again.
Oh, we're
Thank you
so
for having
excited,
me.
and to have an original play, and we should credit Denise
Yes, I
Altabello
do.
for writing
Denise
it.
Altabello wrote the script for the show.
And so the music's by Harry and Ricky?
Well, the songs are varied selections from popular music to jazz to musical theater. You heard When You're in Jail, which was written by Harry and Ricky Graham. Harry Mayronne is the arranger and the musical director for the show. Very glad to be working with Harry again on this.
So there's some traditional songs as well?
There's some traditional songs. So a great mix.
This is next week.
It's
Goodness.
next week. And the
So
first show I've done that
exciting.
isn't about a singer, so it was...
But about a madam.
A madam.
The music of that time period, and we're talking
Yes.
the early 1900s
Yes.
up to 1918 and 1917 is great, and it's underexposed. Huh? There's some
Exactly.
wonderful songs.
There's Basin Street Blues in it, which was written by Spencer Williams, which I learned who was his Lulu White's nephew, and grew up in Mahogany Hall, and
Yes.
Louis Armstrong played there. So, absolutely, there's a lot of strong history with the music of the age.
I am such a fan of yours, and to remind everybody by day, and hopefully the summer's been a little bit easier, but
Yes.
by day, your day job is you
I
teach.
am a music teacher at Trinity Episcopal School, and we're starting up right on Monday. So a wonderful time to start a new school year and to open up a brand new cabaret show.
And of
Lots
course,
happening.
you know, from time to time at different wonderful places,
Yes,
singing
yes.
at night. And
I'm
you're
still singing over
busy
at the
bee.
Old Point, and I sing. I'm doing a weekly series called Woman Crush Wednesdays at the Little Gem Saloon, where it's
Oh,
myself
that's a
along
great
with another
venue right there
female
in
performer
Fortress
every
and
Wednesday.
Rampart.
It's lovely.
Yeah. Well, once again, congratulations.
Thank you,
but
Peggy.
looking forward to seeing your show, and kudos to you all for putting something like that together. That's no easy task.
Thank you.
Yeah. And speaking of theater, Augustin, I have the great pleasure of seeing Vieux Carre, and that's a show that is not as well known, but it should be, shouldn't it?
It absolutely should be. It's really, if you want to think about it, it's like the sequel in some ways to The Glass Menagerie. It's a great Tennessee Williams play about New Orleans. It just doesn't happen to be Streetcar Named Desire, but I think it's pound
And
for
it truly
pound.
is autobiographical. That's it. But it's
Absolutely.
written much later, in the 1970s,
Right.
isn't it?
It was
Yeah.
written in it was finished in 1976, I should say, and it takes back the time that Tennessee Williams himself first arrived in New Orleans in the winter of 1938, spring of 1939.
And poor.
Very poor. He was staying essentially on the floor on a cot in a rooming house at 722 Toulouse Street.
Which today, incredibly, is owned by the Historic New Orleans Collection.
It
a
is,
very
and
important
you can
building.
still visit the courtyard that they talk about in the play through the Williams Research Center and the Williams Museum.
At 533 Roy, you enter from there.
Yeah, you enter on the royal side, and then
Yeah.
somehow it snakes you into the Toulouse section. But it's a love letter to New Orleans, which
It
I
is.
think we've all been sort of talking
And
about.
lots
Literal
of
letters.
characters. Lots of characters.
So many characters. And they're all people that are composites of individuals that he actually knew in his life. The landlady, for example, Mrs. Wire, who we might meet in a few moments, she resembled a landlady that he actually had, and he sells these meals for a quarter and the quarter, and that was a real thing that his landlady had him do. So you see a lot of the characters that he first met when he came to New
So
Orleans.
1938, once again.
38, yeah, 38, 39. And he left town shortly after that and then took off to become Tennessee Williams
And
because
comes
at this
back
time,
many times, of
yeah,
course.
comes back all the time. Had a home here on Dumaine Street until his death.
And completes Streetcar in 46. So just a few years later, he's back and productive once again.
Yes,
Many
he
times.
did Streetcar while he was staying in the quarter. He wrote pieces of Suddenly Last Summer, which takes place uptown, which we're doing in the spring, and also a great play that we're doing. The Tennessee Williams Theater Company of New Orleans is doing The Mutilated, a Tennessee Williams Christmas Spectacular, which I say with not a trace of irony, and that one takes place in the quarter too. So he just loved New Orleans in every way.
Well, your special place this time is, of course, the Marigny Opera House, which is a former Holy Trinity Catholic church, but that's a great space. And in Marigny, on the edge of Marigny, we should say, and easy to park. That's the other thing, too. I was a little concerned, but you park right on the street
Oh yeah,
there.
there's no street signs anywhere to be found. It's a fabulous space. It's just rich with history, and it's got this juxtaposition between the grandness of the church, but also this sort of cool, artsy space, which I think communicates to the play as well, because it's old but new again.
Absolutely. Would you set up the scene that we're about to see?
Sure. So we're going to see the first few moments of the play. Just before this, the writer has come into the house that he used to stay in, and he says, this house used to have all of these people I know, and he begins to recall.
And that's Tennessee, of course.
That's Tennessee, the writer,
The
T.W.
writer, yes.
So he says, I remember these people, and then they just materialize in front of him. And so this is the first interaction before you first meet the rest of this crazy cast of characters.
And now a scene from Vieux Carre as performed by LaKesha Glover and Tracey Collins as Mrs. Wire.
Nursey, where's my pillow? What is going on out there?
Right in the kitchen.
A bat? I never seen a bat nowhere on these premises, Nursey.
Why, Miss Wire, I swear there's a bull bat up there in the kitchen.
Oh.
You tell me there's no bats when there's a whole pack of bats hanging upside down in that old banana tree in the courtyard from dark till daybreak. Then they all scream and explode like a damn souls out of a graveyard.
If such a thing was true.
That's God's word, it's true.
I repeat, if such a thing was true, and you go talking about it with your big mouth, you could ruin the reputation of this rooming house, which is the only respectable rooming house in the quarter. Now, where's my pillow, Nursey?
Oh, shoot.
What did you say?
You will see that they're under the cot if you had a light in this hall. What you got against light? The first thing God said on the first day of creation was, let there be light.
You hear him say that?
You never read the scriptures.
Why should I read them with you quoting them at me all the time? The books say this, the books say that. Makes me sick of the book. Now, where's my flashlight, Nursey?
Look under the pillows. What's this here?
Oh, some crazy young boy came by last night looking for a room. I told him I ain't got no vacancies for no Bourbon Street bums. He dropped that bag on the floor, said he'd be by tomorrow to pick it up. I told him not unless you pay 50 cents for storage.
It's got something written on it that shines in the dark.
Yeah, Sky said that's his name. Carry it out with you, will you?
Miss Wire, I can't hardly get myself up them stairs no more, and you know that.
Oh, shoot.
Miss Wire, I think I ought to inform you I'm thinking of retiring.
Retiring to what? The banana tree in the courtyard with the bats you got in your head?
There's a whole bunch of folks, black and white. They call bag people. They just wander around carrying paper bags that hold everything they possess so they can collect. At night, they sleep on doorsteps, spend their days on the corners of canal with a tin can. But they live, and they get along, as long as intended by the Lord.
Your place is with me, Nursey.
I can't please you no more, Miss Wire. You keep calling Nursey. Nursey, do this, do that. But all these stairs in this house and my failing eyesight? No, ma'am. I think it's time for me to retire.
Thank you all so very much. Vieux Carre. Of course, it is now running at the Marigny Opera House on St. Ferdinand Street this weekend in Dauphine. And it's through August the 19th. Do you think you might hold over?
I think yesterday we announced that we are holding over until the 25th, so we have a 3-day extension, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday up until the 25th of that week.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Visit of course, the theater company's website for tickets. You can get them right there. Now, time for our artist spotlight, and tonight we are featuring the work of jeweler Anne-Marie Ciansolo. And here's a set of 8 rings. The artist uses juxtaposition to depict humorous miniature worlds. And this one's called Bird Garden. You can see more of her work at Gallery 2 on Royal Street. Gallery 2 it's just one of many galleries participating in Dirty Linen Night. That's this Saturday. The celebration takes place from the 200 to the 900 blocks of Royal. Tickets start at just $20 and can be purchased at dirtylinen.org. Now it is time for our picks. Stephen.
Oh.
Botticelli's Bastard. Yes?
Yes, most assuredly.
Thank you. Poppy.
If you've got guests coming in town, people wanting to know how to cook New Orleans-style Creole food, Taste of Louisiana is kicking off again this Monday. There'll be Monday classes at the Southern Food and Beverage Museum for the very reasonable price of $35 to $45. It's a great deal. Liz Williams, Jill Benson.
Oh, yeah.
You can't get
So
a better
knowledgeable.
class than that.
So knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And such a great space, too.
It is. Great thing to do with out-of-town guests on a Monday for lunch.
Definitely. Anais.
My pick is my show, Lulu White, Queen of Storyville, opening next weekend with Jefferson Performing Arts Society.
Very good. All right, Augustin.
Well, after you've seen Anais and after you've seen LaKesha and Tracey, I'm very excited about Hedwig and the Angry Inches coming our way at
Yes.
Cafe Istanbul very soon.
Yes, and we're going to have them on soon, so I'm so
Fantastic.
glad. That'll be really fun. And my picks, a reminder that opera singers Brian Hemel, Irini Kirikadu, and other fine singers will be performing during a Taste of Music, O Sole Vino, tomorrow night at The Crossing. It's a great public space there, and that's on Williams Boulevard in Kenner. It's an event space. Visit opusopera.org to purchase your ticket, but lots of music and wine. Irini, by the way, will be performing with us. She'll be in our show next week. You can catch free nature tours and art demonstrations this Sunday at the Crevasse 22 River House on Cerro Lane in St. Bernard. Visit Crevasse 22's website to learn more. It's actually an outdoor sculpture park with exhibit space. Looking ahead, there'll be a fundraiser for the Symphony Chorus of New Orleans, and that's at Antoine's, called an August Night at Antoine's. That's next Saturday. Admission includes a full menu and live music from the Symphony Chorus. So visit the Symphony Chorus website to get your ticket. Thank you very much for watching, and let's have another toast and another round of this, huh?
Absolutely.
It's always good to feel a little French here. Oh, thanks again for the Boulangerie. Here we go. All right. Thank you all very much. Good night.